everyone, this is my August wrap up. I read 8 books in August, not as many as I'd hoped, but good nonetheless. I wanted to read 10 if I'm honest, but I fell into a reading slump-ish towards the end of the month and I'm still struggling with that. Like, nothing's really grabbing me unless it's quite fast paced and there's a lot going on. And also towards the end of August I got back into writing, so I went away for 4 days when I could have done a lot of reading, but instead I wrote I think 10,000 words, which I'm really happy about, so I'm not complaining. So the first book I finished in August, which I'd actually read the majority of at the end of July, was Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book so much. I mean, I loved Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, but this one was better. I saw so much of myself in Emily. I am that kind of person who won't put myself out of my comfort zone. I just could relate to it so much, and the story was so enjoyable and the character development was fantastic. Really love this book, and I really want to get to Morgan Matson's other 2 that I have not yet read. I then read Hello, Goodbye and Everything in Between by Jennifer E. Smith. This book I'm really undecided about. Like, I really enjoyed, but at the same time it didn't grab me like a lot of other contemporaries have done. There wasn't really anything to fault with it, it was just the fact that I wasn't grabbed. And I think the thing with this is that they are going off to college in this book and it's sort of their last summer in their hometown, and whilst that is a very relevant book for me to be reading at this time in my life because I'm about to go to university, it also highlighted a lot of the anxieties that I have towards it, and I've been trying not to focus on them for uni because I have wanted to go to uni for as long as I can remember, so the fact that I'm going I'm really excited about. This kind of just brought them up and I didn't really want that because I just want to focus on the good things. I gave this 3.5 stars. I think part of it is the fact that I've read so many YA contemporaries now and they are one of my favourite genres, but I think because I've read so many they're all just sounding very samey. The next book I read was The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood. This is a dystopian and the 2 protagonists in it, Stan and Charmaine, are a couple and they go to live in this project which is being run in order to... There's a lot of unemployment in the world and this project tackles unemployment, and what they do is they spend a month in this wonderful village, like town, with all they could want. They've got jobs and they spend a month in prison, positron prison, and they share the house with another couple and obviously they like swap every month. I thought this was such a good book. The characters were so interesting and so deep. Like Charmaine especially, you'd think you get this one impression of her early in the novel and then you see a completely different side to her later on. Margaret Atwood is one of my favourite writers. Her work is phenomenal. Her writing style is something I really personally like. I know a lot of people don't like it because I find that it is very to the point, for want of a better description. I rated this 4 stars and can't wait to be picking up more of Margaret Atwood's work. I then read a collection of poetry which is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, and this is beautiful. At first I found it a bit strange because there is no grammar in this apart from the occasional apostrophe where they are necessary. And this was strange at first, I will confess, but as I read on, it's so poignant and I think the lack of grammar just makes the words more raw and you fully get the message that she's trying to portray, and I love this so much. It's about abusive relationships and moving on afterwards and sort of healing and learning and self-acceptance, and it's just so beautiful. And if you're not a massive fan of poetry, I would still recommend this because it's very accessible. I gave this 5 stars and would highly recommend this to anyone because it is such a beautiful collection of poetry. I then read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. I am not the biggest Harry Potter fan. Like, I like the books but I still haven't read the 7th one. I gave this 3 stars because I enjoyed it. I liked the story. It was fun. It was unique, but there were a lot of plot holes in this. It was by no means the best writing either, and I do think it would be better to see on stage, if I'm honest. All in all, it was an enjoyable read. I didn't like the character of Harry at all. It goes completely against what we already know of Harry and how he's like the hero and everything. He's not very nice in this. The next book I read was an ebook, and that was My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. I will link the Goodreads page for that one down below so you can see like the cover and stuff, because I do not have fancy software to put them on the screen, and nor do I know how if I can do that with my software, so yeah, I'll link that like Goodreads page down below. I gave this 3.5 stars. I enjoyed this book, it was a really fun read, but I also had a lot of problems with it, and I think again this comes from the fact that I've read so many YA contemporaries now that I noticed the problems a lot more because I feel like I've got a lot more to compare with, and there was a lot of insta-love in this book. That was the thing that stood out the most, was the insta-love, and it was quite cringy in points, but at the same time it was a really fun read. It was so cute and I really enjoyed it for that aspect, so 3.5 stars. Not a bad book, but not the best contemporary I've read either. Will I pick up more Huntley Fitzpatrick or not? I do not know. I couldn't say. If they're all along the lines of insta-love, I don't know. The next book that I read was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I gave this 3.5 stars as well. I loved the premise of this book, but I feel like the premise outdid the actual novel. I felt like it would be a lot more interesting and like more enjoyable than it was. Now that's not to say that I didn't enjoy this book, because I did. It was a fun read, I read it really quickly, but at the same time it wasn't really what I was expecting it to be. There were a few points in this and I felt like that completely contradicted the premise, in that one of the characters saves another character, and it's like your premise is supposed to be that you don't get involved, that you are not the chosen ones, and yet one of the main characters is a chosen one. And I just found that really contradictory and almost confusing to read. So I gave this 3.5 stars because I did enjoy it, but it wasn't what I expected it to be, and I think that was part of the problem. The final book that I picked up, this sort of dragged me out of that slump that I was going into, which I'm still kind of in, but it made me realise the type of book that I was looking for, and this is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is slow, admittedly, for the first 150 pages, something like that. And once it picks up, I could not put it down. It was fabulous. I gave it 4.5 stars purely because it was slow at the beginning. The story and the characters are just so wonderfully developed. Just so much happens, so much is interwoven, and it's just fabulous, and I would highly recommend picking this up. It was also suiting my mood perfectly because it's set in Barcelona, and I had just come back from Barcelona, and it was nice because it's still fresh in my mind and I could picture it really clearly in this book. And I think that just made it even better for me, and I loved it. It's about a boy, Daniel, who is taken by his father to the Cemetery of Forgotten Books when he is 10, and he can pick any one of the books from this, and the book that he chooses is The Shadow of the Wind by Julian Carax. There's a lot of interest in this book and people want it, and Daniel begins to investigate the life of the author. So that's my August wrap up. As always, if you've read or got any opinions on any of these books, then leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!